Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the post-start of Game On Wisconsin. My name is MJ Hurley, and I am here today with Mike Kwanu. Mike, 17-0 shutout of the Russell Wilson-led Seattle Seahawks. His little documentary on Twitter did nothing. Packers.
He can thank Jamal Adams for doing the belt, I guess.
Feel that out. I'm like, he did the belt. We're done. They can do at this point. He messed up. Oh,
yeah.
My gosh.
Just it really is just one of those take it, be happy with it, and move on kind of weeks. Just with how I don't know what you call the first 45 minutes of that game, but just happy that they got the win. Hoping, knocking on every piece of wood in this house that whatever news they get back from players is as good as best case scenario as possible, and that's really it at this point this week. I mean, you almost want to just light most of this tape on fire and move on at this point. But yeah, it's another win. And hey, can't complain. They're number one in the NFC right now.
Yep. Number one in the NFC, shutout. The defense is playing on fire. But as you mentioned, injuries to Rashawn Gary, Whitney Merciless, and then Aaron Jones at the end of that second half. A team that's already struggling with injuries. Like you said, you just got to hope for the best. Schefter was reporting. Granted, who knows how much that's worth.
I did see Rappaport tweet something.
Oh, okay, so it's legit. Okay,
yeah. I didn't see him tweet Schefter reports, so I'm hoping that he's got his guys telling him the same thing. So I'm really crossing my fingers on that one.
Yeah. So I mean, the great thing is though, like I've been saying all year, even with injuries, the Packers have dealt with so many injuries so far that they have the depth to deal with it. Obviously, you don't want some of your best guys going down, but the ability Green Bay has to go to A.J. Dillon right after Aaron Jones is out. Aaron Jones told A.J. Dillon as he was walking off the field, finish it for me. A.J. Dillon did plenty of that. So, I mean, we have the depth to handle the injuries. It's just obviously not ideal.
Yeah.
But again, with all of the guys that have missed time so far through 10 games, if you would have told us at the beginning of the year after that Saints game, we'd be 8-2 right now, would have laughed at ourselves.
Yep. Absolutely. Not just 8-2, but leading the conference. We're in pole position right now for number one seed in the conference. And I don't know how, but somehow kind of extending that margin in some ways, because a lot of teams are beating up on a lot of other teams. I mean, right. Like everyone was giving Green Bay grief for how they weren't that hot against Washington. Washington just beat the Bucks today. So I mean, like,
thank goodness. That makes me so happy. And I hate Tom Brady. I'm sure he's a great dude outside of football. But to see him lose to a team without a name, that just makes me so happy.
He lost to that football team. But yeah. I mean, like we said, and I've said it in my first four posts and stuff, like, you'd love to see Green Bay get some of these wins. And like you said, hopefully 2 out of these 3 injuries, it looked, using any and all body language reporting, it sounds like Jones might have escaped something serious. And I saw a couple tweets, one from Mike Clemens, where he said that Rashawn seemed to be fist pumping guys going off the sideline before he ran into the tunnel. And at first I thought they were showing him like crying in the tunnel, but I realized he was talking to fans. So I was like, okay, maybe he got lucky. And this is like the one time that you'll see anybody, including me, I've been posting this. I was like, this might be the one time in your life that you hear a shoulder dislocation was the best case scenario, because I don't know. I thought, I'm almost certain Merciless tore his bicep, like the way he was holding it.
Yeah.
And I thought Rashawn did something worse to his arm. And if he got out with just a shoulder dislocation, I mean, praise be to anything that you pray to, because that means like maybe he'll be back after the bye too. But just another, I don't want to say great win, because it was, okay, the defense played great all game. The offense, I don't know, they kicked rocks for the first 3 quarters, but when it had to happen, this team made it happen. And honestly, I know it's been said on some places, but it's kind of nice to see this team win ugly again. They haven't done that a lot in the last 12 years. So it is nice to see them get into some street fights and win some street fights, like kind of like they did in that 2010 season.
Well, speaking of street fights, DK Metcalf started one. And that's the same way that it made me so happy to see Elton Jenkins make Aaron Donald grab his face mask last year in the divisional round. It makes me so happy to see our defense, especially our DBs, given the struggle Green Bay has had in the defensive back room for so many years, not having, even if we had a number one, not having anyone after that, to have multiple guys that got to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett so badly today that DK Metcalf just started twisting face masks. That's huge.
And like the funny thing is it's like, dude, you dropped 3 passes, at least 3 passes today, and I mean, be mad at yourself. Like I'm not nearly that good enough to have played on that level, but shoot, I remember I would be more pissed off at myself than anything the defense was doing. He dropped so many plays out there, and let's just put another one in the book of: would you rather have Elton or would you rather have DK? I mean, seeing how he's a great playmaker, but he has these games where he's just a knucklehead, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more. But trying to pull the Bobby, the Bobby Valentine and run back in the game, and like,
oh my gosh,
like we'll get into it. But I mean, like, dude, like Romo was trying to be so polite about it, and he was saying like,
"Sir, you're 6'4", 240 pounds. You can't
you're
just
gonna be
run
noticed.
back into the game." It's slightly noticeable. You're not Kylan Hill. You're not just gonna sneak in. That's not how that works.
But honestly, the one that impressed me more was shutting down, keeping Lockett under wraps, because without Jair in the game, we really don't have a DB to truly deal with everything Lockett brings to the table. So seeing them able to hold him under locks for most of the game, I mean, and it wasn't just the corners, the secondary as a whole came to play today, and they made play after play after play. Saw both safeties do it. We saw each one of the corners make a big play. Everyone's favorite whipping boy, Kevin King, made a play that maybe changed the complexion of the game at the time. Yeah. And, like, hey, didn't hold on to that interception last week, but made that play this week. And, I'm frustrated with him when he doesn't make plays and stuff like that. But how can you not be happy for the guy? Like, it sucks what's happened to him so far, but just root for him when he makes a play. Don't say like, oh, I mean, I think he still dropped it or something. Like, just be happy he made the damn play and like just carry on with it.
I mean, very good point, Mike. I rip on Kevin King just as much as anyone, but guy makes an interception. I'll give him props for it. Like, Good job. I'm proud of you. Well done. I appreciate you helping out the team. Do I still think he should be a starting corner? No. But I'm not going to rip on him for making an interception. Like,
absolutely.
There's a big difference there. I think he's the most likely of anyone in our defensive back room to give up a big play. Does that mean I won't celebrate him? No. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go through offense and defense separately. So when looking at the offense, as you said, they kicked rocks for about 45 minutes. I think the majority of us will agree A.J. Dillon was the offensive MVP, so I'm going to rule that out for you and I choosing an offensive MVP, just the same way I rule Aaron Rodgers out as an offensive key to the game before every game, because that's just boring and that's no fun. So, Mike, other than A.J. Dillon, 17 points is not a bad performance necessarily, especially against a pretty good Seattle defense. So for you, who is your MVP?
It's really hard to pick one, but I'm going to say that I'd like to say our boy MVS. He had that big play, should have been a touchdown if Aaron threw it to him in stride. Missed a couple blocks here and there, but I think you're starting to see his presence on the field making an impact for this offense again. You're seeing teams not being able to press up on the line with their safeties as much anymore. It's really a coin flip between him and Elton for me, but I'll give MVS a shout out because his impact's not going to be shown on the stat sheet too much, but I think you're starting to see him come back into play. And the big key for me coming into one of the kind of hidden keys, I should say, for this game was that he wasn't on the injury report at all this week, which is just a good sign for this team moving forward because they need his speed out there on the field.
Honestly, I'm going to go Allen Lazard was my offensive MVP, really just for that blindside block, which technically, and Gene Steratore said this, technically
Yes.
it was not a blindside block.
It made me hold my breath for a second.
Yeah. It was the most technical, not blindside block that I've ever seen in my life. But holy crap, Allen Lazard really is taking his new role as a hybrid tight end with Bobby Tonyan out. He's just taking that to heart.
Yeah.
He's doing absolutely everything on the field, and he's just not holding back. And even when he only has one catch for 6 yards, he had some targets, should have had a couple big plays over the middle. So if a couple things go differently, we're looking at him with probably 80 yards, 3 catches, and a touchdown.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, and obviously you'd like to see Lazard hold on to at least one of those 3 plays, but okay, the 4th down play, I don't put that on either of them. That's just unfortunately, that's just an unfortunate circumstance. He's getting led upfield into the safety because Rodgers has to throw around the guy. But on those 2 deep shots, yes, you'd love to see him make the catch, but Rodgers is short by about 3 yards on both of those plays. So like I said, and MVS's deep shot early too, like that ball is about 3 yards underthrown. And so it's like, obviously you want them to come up with the play, but little better ball placement. Lazard might be still running right now, and MVS is for sure still running to Kroger's right now or something. So yeah, it's a game of inches, and just hope to see them clean it up over the next couple of weeks, especially going into the bye. Just finish strong through the bye and hopefully get us to 10-2, still in first place.
Well, and to your point, the huge thing about that MVS play, and they pointed this out on the broadcast, was it made Seattle play 2 high safeties the majority of the game. So, and again, I say this almost every week, especially because of that, I wish they would have run the football more. Yeah. Because they had so many 2 high looks the majority of the game. They got the screens going, that they started doing some things to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But especially given the fact that Rodgers hadn't really touched a football in 2 weeks, I didn't love how much they threw the football in the first half. And that's something that's been driving me crazy this entire year. I literally said it on the pre-snap. I said, if I see Aaron Rodgers split out 5 wide, I'm going to go crazy. What did they do on the first drive? Motion Aaron Jones out, and they go split out 5 wide. And I'm like, I don't even know what to. So Mike, why are they not running the football as much in the first half?
I really wish I had an answer. There's a lot of different angles to come at it. You can say, I'd like to say that, everything that we've known about LaFleur so far, he's a guy who wants to run the football, or at least to, have that, what did he say? It's the way he disguises his plays. It's going to come to me later on, but, how he just layers his plays on top of each other. And that's the thing that, like I said, I do think we're going to see a big shift in how this offense runs once Bakhtiari is back, because I still, especially with how we've seen the interior O-line has just been terrible the last month of the season. I don't blame either quarterback for not wanting to turn their back to the defense too much. I mean, shoot, that one conversion, I can't remember, it was the third, I think it was the 3rd down conversion, the one where Rodgers got it out to Jones in the flat. Shouldn't have been someone in his face, but Newman blocked no one again, and he's got Jordan Brooks coming down in his face. So it's plays like that where it's like, on one hand, I definitely agree with you. You want to see them pop it into 12 personnel, get the run game going, or just at least be starting to take, those bootlegs off of it or whatever play actions off of it. But I do understand where we're seeing a lot more shotgun than I think even Aaron really wants to play. I think he gets that this offense functions better with him under center. But at the same time, it's like weighing it both ways kind of thing. And it's like, okay, which way are we not going to just thrive, but honestly survive at this point? I do think there's a level of it on offense each week where they're like, you just got to make enough plays to. And how long has it been since we've had a defense good enough that we can say for the offense, just make enough plays to get us to next week kind of thing and stuff. And obviously you'd like to see them get them out to better starts and stuff, but I know it is frustrating. And the other side of it is how many plays are they changing? Same with you. Every time Rodgers pulls it and runs one of those the swing pass to the receiver, I kind of just shake my head because I'm like, just hand the ball off. Like teams aren't falling for that anymore. It was this is something that Dusty Evely and I have talked about a lot recently. It's nice that we finally saw them do something other than a bubble screen today. We saw Tay take a couple of those, basically just like a 3-step seam route, and it was nice to see something vertical for once, because he's run like maybe a couple vertical routes off of the RPO. It's always been that swing pass, and everyone goes, "Oh, the whoever is that the wideout isn't blocking good." I'm like, no one. I was like, Lazard couldn't block that play good earlier this season, because everyone is just
2 people by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. No defense is believing that Lazard's going to do anything else, and no defense is believing Tay's going to do anything else. So it's like you're almost spitting on 2 yards by running that play, unless Tay just breaks somebody's ankles and Lazard levels the other guy, kind of thing. So it's like you're kind of just setting money on fire with that play. So it was nice to see something different, but at the same time, I do think whenever it happens, whenever Bakhtiari is back, we're going to see a totally different offensive. And once Myers also comes back, that is going to just monumentally change how this offense looks, because you shore up, you're basically going to have I don't want to say a different starting 5, but you're going to have a different O-line left to right kind of thing. Who knows where they're going to move Jenkins around to, what they're going to do with that. But especially once Myers is back, you're going to have a completely different look. And I think a lot of the pass protection issues are going to be solved. And by consequence of that, you're going to see a lot more under center snaps, a lot more just straight runs and play action off of those. That really is what was the backbone of this offense all the way through when Bakhtiari got hurt. So that's the long answer to it. But it's one of those also, like, the bye is so late this year. I'm kind of just like, just get to the bye as healthy as you can, and we'll see what happens when we come out the other side.
I am curious, last thing before we move to the defense, their effort today. We talked last time you were on here about what the offensive line may look like when Bakhtiari gets back. A lot of things have changed since then. So give me your ideal left to right starting 5 offensive line, which is a much more difficult question sitting here at the end of week 10 than we thought it would be a few weeks ago.
Right. So I don't think they would do this unless they were coming out of the bye, but the line I did wonder they would do, especially with how bad Newman and Lucas has been, is whether they'd instead of just moving Jenkins in, if you slide him over to right tackle, bump Turner inside, and then you just really beef up the guards next to you beef up the 2 guard spots around Patrick, and then obviously you put Myers back in. I don't know if they would go with that wholesale of a change this late in the year, just because Turner has been pretty damn solid out there at right tackle. And it is just a lot of moving chairs. Like, I think they could do it because Jenkins is that special and Bakhtiari is that good that you can just cycle guy, like you keep Runyon at the same spot because he's the youngest guy. You keep Patrick at, I know people are ragging on him, but I do think center is his best position. And you kind of just
have a great guard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think that it's a lot easier for him because for the most part, he's either helping or he's blocking the guy that's right in front of him at center. And sometimes at guard last year, you saw him get a little lost in the mush in where he had to pick up a free rusher or stuff like that. So I think you'd keep him at center. And just because you don't even have Myers right now. And I don't really think it's worth moving Jenkins to center unless you're really, really hoping that Jenkins next to Newman. But I don't know. Like, I think Patrick's best tape is still better than Newman's best tape at this point. And so you just roll with it that way. The other way is the easy way. And that's this is all without Myers, obviously. You bump Jenkins over to right or left guard. You bump John Runyon Jr. over to right guard. And you kind of just roll with it until Myers comes back. So we'll see if they go the wild route with but I kind of think that they're just moving Jenkins over because I don't know how much really to put on it, but you saw Silverstein earlier this week. He had that tweet where he was like, "Oh, left guard Elton Jenkins missed practice today," and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he missed practice!" And then Spoon obviously came out and was like, "No, he was there. My bad." And then I was like, once he said like, "No, he was there," I was like, "Okay, thank God." And then I looked back at his original tweet. I was like, "Oh, left guard Elton Jenkins." Like, I don't know how much you take out of. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much you really take out of it, but I tweeted back at him jokingly. I said, "You just didn't see him because he wasn't lined up at left tackle anymore, right? Like, you just didn't know where to look for him." But
yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those. We'll see where they go with it, but yeah, they have options, and like you said, the guys who have been playing, even Newman, who I'm ragging on, like he's still a rookie. They have stressed next man up as far as they possibly can, and as bad as everyone's saying, like, oh, like Newman and Patrick are weak, the weaklings. Blah, blah. I'm like, if you think they're bad, just know that they don't have an option C at this point. They are
correct
at option whatever, and they don't have one after, because I guess the only other one is to call up Braden, but are you really going to play a guy on the practice squad over a rookie who's been starting all year and stuff like that? So it's just kind of, it is what it is, and they've just got to, yeah.
the only other, like, if Newman, let's say Newman were to get hurt, really your best option at that point would be to start Yosh, move Jenkins to left guard,
would be,
move Runyon to right guard. But then it's still
and even then we saw them go and even then we saw them go to Hansen at left guard when Runyon left last week 6. So I mean, it's totally, I think they're going to do the clean shift because they don't want to move too many guys at the same time and stuff. But you know, like our own Russ Uglum has talked about it. Mike Wall has talked about it on his podcast with Amon Green. And it's like, it's not so much Newman, especially from Wall's case. Wall really likes Runyon. And he's like, you just can't take this kid off the field kind of thing. So he's like, he's got to find a home for him no matter who comes back. So I think you'll see it because he's had his mix-ups too, but he's definitely been the more aggressive. That's the thing that's so frustrating with Newman is he was this kick your ass kind of player coming out of college, and like you watch him on not even the plays. I'm not even going to talk about the play, but you watch him go out on screens. Like you watch that Arizona game, and it's like, dude, go hit someone. Like I know people were kind of ragging on Jones for rushing and stuff, but I'm like, I think Jones feels the pressure behind him. Newman's got to go out and hit somebody kind of thing, and you kind of see him. He looks a little passive out there in space, and it's like just go get in his face kind of thing and stuff. So all those things. That's why I think they'll do one of those two combinations. I'm really excited to see what they do. Whenever that game that Bakhtiari comes back, I'm waiting to see whoever puts the first post up for what the first O-line looks like that first game back.
So speaking of getting in your face, we have a defensive shutout today. And there were a lot of impressive players on the defensive end today. So I'm going to give you the difficult task of picking a defensive MVP out of a lot of impressive performances today.
Yeah. It sucks that Rashawn got hurt because he was going to be my pick before. But I'm going to go with Savage. It's splitting hairs between Savage and Amos of the healthy guys left. But I'm going to go with Savage purely because he made – and Amos's games kept it a shutout. Plays kept it a shutout. But Savage made a couple plays early where he – saved the defense, like that one where he got back on his horse and broke up that pass on the sideline. He saved himself too because he took a kind of shitty angle on the play, but he wiped out what would have been a walk-in touchdown for Seattle there, and he made a couple other really nice plays in coverage. Still, sometimes you worry with him with his back to the quarterback because he still looks like he kind of loses the ball up in the air a little bit, but just a really great game from him today. Saw him come up in run support as well, so I'm going to give it to Savage today. That he'll be my MVP today. Special considerations to Amos. Special considerations to Kenny because Kenny is just always awesome. Like you said, Kenny should be in that untouchable category. Like he's that good for this defense. Yeah.
I mean, he consistently, the ability he has to, Mans is chasing down Russell Wilson. Yeah. That's not normal for a defensive tackle. But no, you went Savage. I'm going to go Amos. He was. And they pointed this out on the broadcast too, the amount of times he was covering two guys in deep routes. He was playing so much of the field, and he should have had multiple interceptions. He only ended up with the one. But he should have come away with multiple. And, you know, he and Savage have a very difficult task right now where they have to back up and provide assistance to some corners who are not the Jair that they're used to playing behind. Granted, Stokes and Douglas and King are playing much better than they were a few weeks ago. But they've got some pretty difficult defensive assignments right now, Amos and Savage. So, you know, especially when Green Bay signed Adrian Amos, all of Chicago Bears Twitter told us that we lost the guy who was the playmaker. when we lost HaHa Clinton-Dix. I just like to say no. That's not we got the playmaker very clearly because one of them is still in the NFL playing at an all-pro level. The other one is not. So yeah, I mean, Adrian Amos, I was ragging on the safety group at the beginning of the year because I didn't think they were playing as well as they should have been. And part of that was because they had a lot of stress put on them by the corners. With the corner play improving, their play is improving as well. So from both of us, Mike, shout out to the safety group. Because they made everybody's lives a lot easier today.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for guys, especially King too, at this point of his career where his legs are kind of shot. It's like I said, like I got into it with somebody where they were like, "Oh, Stokes is cleared." I'm like, King was the better athlete coming out of college. I was like, that's what's sad about King's career is that he was, for all the lauding that Stokes gets for being this incredible athlete, King was a better athlete coming out of UW and taller too. So I'm like, but it is a great coverage or comfort for all the cornerbacks in the room. And Chandon too. Chandon had a solid game as well tonight. Yeah. It is a great luxury to have two safeties, not just one, but two that for, 9 times out of 10, they're just because guys get beat. That's just part of sports. But 9 times out of 10, you can count on those guys to be in the position they've got to be to get your back kind of thing. It allows a guy like Chandon and guys like Chandon and Brazul to be more aggressive. They're not the greatest athletes in football, but it allows them to be more physical, more aggressive because if I trip on this field, someone's got my back behind me. Same thing for King too, kind of thing. Like he can use his length to try and smother people at the line of scrimmage and stuff. And Stokes, as a rookie, it's like, hey, I'm gonna make some mistakes, I'm gonna lose some mistakes, or I'm gonna make some plays, I'm gonna make some mistakes, and just having whatever, Amos in your back ear telling you hey, go get him. Don't worry, I got you kind of thing. Yeah. Like you said, they're towing the line, and it definitely helps that Barry is a lot more strict in terms of I'm playing a cover 2 system. We're keeping eyes are on the quarterback. To avoid, that was the thing with Pettin's defense is that there was a lot of disguise, a lot of communication breakdowns that led to some big plays and stuff like that. And I think Barry, partly because of the issues at quarterback, or injuries, I should say, not issues, the injuries at quarterback, he's had to just kind of double down and almost dumb down his defense in a sense where it's like, we're going back to basics. We're just going to try and play as clean and smart football on defense as we can. And it's just working to perfection. Field Yates had this tweet. We all looked at this stretch of the season. Murray, Mahomes, Russ. The Packers defense these 3 weeks has held them to 56.3% completion.
That,
601 yards, 1 touchdown. It wasn't even a passing touch. Oh, no, it was a passing touchdown. I lied. It was Mahomes' passing touchdown and 4 interceptions. That's none of us could have dreamed of that. We could have hired Brandon Staley as our DC. We could have, if Zimmer got fired and we hired him as our DC. I don't think any of us would have imagined that was possible, remotely possible. And yes, I know those teams have missed plays and yada, 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 but these kind of games were boat races the other way in the past, and it can't be said enough how good this unit is playing. And it's coming at the most necessary time of the year because of all the injuries on offense.
And the last shout out I want to give before we wrap up here is, as Nicholas brings up the linebackers, because of the play of Devondre Campbell and Chris Barnes, it allows Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage to not play down as much. They can really play that true cover 2 look. So, I mean, we have guys now that we can trust at every single level, at every single position, rookies, veterans, everywhere in between. That's something that for the last 10 years since the Packers won the Super Bowl, we've not had a defense like this. So it's really just, it's fun to watch. It's confusing. I'm still not used to it, but it makes me enjoy watching football even more because it used to just be, okay, they're probably going to give up a score on this. I only really paid attention to the offense for the most part because the defense was just going to give up a touchdown the majority of the time, and that's even how it was at the beginning of the year. So having a team where we can enjoy 2 of the 3 phases of football, we won't talk about the third one because that would make us both yell and not be happy. And we won, so we want to be happy. But yeah, it's a much more enjoyable football team to watch.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Mike, thank you very much, as always, for joining me. I appreciate your analysis. You know way more about football than I do. So I appreciate you coming on, especially with me losing my voice a little bit, carrying us for the post-draft today.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for always having me on. Always love coming on, and you're putting on a great show, MJ. So, no, thank you, and keep on keeping on.
Thank you. As always, go follow Mike on Twitter over there. Cameras are hard. Follow me on Twitter at MJ Hurley Sports. This has been the Post Draft, Game on Wisconsin, sponsored by Artec Ventures. Make sure to follow all of our social media: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Watch the MVS show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's always a good time. My name is MJ Hurley. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you guys later.